He was just trying to devour morning meal until the lawman attempted to shame him. Then he dialed one number that altered everything. It's just past 8 a.m. on a dull Tuesday dawn in Macon, Georgia. You know, the sort where the heavens feel like gap cement and even the road lamps don't appear fully roused yet. On Vanneval Avenue, there's a small no-thrills eatery wedged between a laundry service and a lone store. The kind of spot where the brew is never excellent, but the folks make it worthwhile lingering. Clarence Dupri is already there, spine against the partition, chair by the pane, same nook every week. His military coat is older than the cleaner in the rear, tattered at the wrists and bleached near the arms, but still spotless. His whiskers are unkempt, but neat. He smells like dark Java and pipe filler, not smokes, but the type you twist yourself with a bit too much wrapper. He doesn't chat much, but when he does, it's always with courtesy. "Morning, Mr. Dupri," says Carla, the server. She's early 30s, to youngsters, and directs the area like a road guide with a grin. "Hey, Carla, you got any more of that peach crisp today?" She chuckles. "You know we don't begin that till midday. You want your standard." Clarence nods. She doesn't need to inquire what that implies. Fluffy eggs, grits, 2 slices of pork, and bread if it's not charred. Brew, no milk, no sweetener. Always the same. Behind the counter, Harold, the proprietor, peeks over his lenses. That fellow could manage this spot better than me with one arm tied behind his back, he says to Carla under his breath. "He's the only cuz I don't exit here some days," Carla answers. To most patrons entering, Clarence appears like someone scarcely clinging on. No vehicle, no fixed residence, one pair of footwear that have witnessed better years. But to the individuals who count inside this little cafe, he's kin, a subdued one, sure, but one they rely on. Clarence doesn't utter much. He gulps his brew gradually, sweeping the reports on the screen above the counter. There's a tale about ex-soldiers not getting their perks. He doesn't twitch, just breathes slow through his nostrils and glances back out the pane. Outside, traffic's beginning to rise. Pupils headed to Mercer, guardians leaving offspring at academy, people attempting to outpace the surge to Robins Air Force Base. Nobody spots the ebony and ivory patrol car halt right away. It's not racing, no alarms, just 2 enforcers exiting like it's standard. Perhaps to them it is. Officer Langley, tall built like he competed in university sports 20 years ago and never recovered from it, opens the entrance. His colleague, Officer Ree, short and block-faced with a ledger under one limb, trails close behind. They stride in like they've performed it 100 times because they have. Carla spots them first and compels a green. Morning officers, usual spot, but they don't respond. Langley's gaze are already locked on Clarence. "Sir," he says, approaching. "You a patron here?" Clarence blinks once, gradual, then nods. "I am. You purchase anything?" Ree asks. "Brew, meal on the way." Langley glances at the counter. "You got a bill?" Carla intervenes. "He's fine. He's here all the time." Langley doesn't glance at her. "Did I inquire you?" Carla's lips part, but Harold lifts a palm from the back. "Don't, Carla," he says softly. Clarence doesn't shift, doesn't elevate his tone, doesn't wince. "I compensated." She took the request. "You can query her." Ree squints. "You carrying recognition?" Clarence reclines, gradual, extends into his inner coat pocket, and extracts an age-hide purse, borders fractured. He glides over EVA ticket. Langley takes one glance and jeers. "This is all you got?" "It's all I require." Ree gives a brief laugh like Clarence just shared a quip only he finds amusing. "Yeah, we'll see." But before they even request him to depart, the cafe drops silent and attention begins mounting. The kind that informs you something's about to go real awry, real swift. Ree steps in nearer, limbs crossed like he's measuring Clarence up for a portrait. "How long you been here?" he asks. Clarence glances up at the timer on the wall. "About 30 minutes. Langley inclines his head. "And how long you intending on remaining?" Clarence's gaze narrowed just a bit. but his tone stays serene. Long enough to consume my meal like everyone else. Carla glides the dish onto the table, attempting not to make it appear hurried. Here you go, Mr. Dupri. Langley elevates an eyebrow. He already requested. Carla doesn't retreat this time. He arrives in every Tuesday, compensates courtesy, always courteous. He's a steady, sir. Returns back to Clarence. You without residence. Clarence nods gradually. I don't have a dwelling. No, but I got a haven in this town. Langley smirks. You got clever replies? Huh? Clarence says nothing. He lifts his utensil, as if that'll make them vanish. But it doesn't. You see, this is the issue, Langley says, glancing around like he's speaking to an audience. Folks think they can just settle wherever they desire, exploit generous people like you all. That equitable to everyone else in here. Nobody replies. Nobody wants to worsen it. A pair at the next table glance down at their dishes. A courier waiting on a collection shifts uneasily near the entrance, but nobody utters a term. Clarence slices a portion of egg, munks, gulps, cleans his lips with the tissue. I assisted in Iraq twice, returned, labored the protection in Alabama, until my joints failed. I manage, I don't pilfer, I don't plead, I compensate for my fare. So why are you addressing me like I invaded somebody's residence? Langley chuckles, but there's no mirth in it. Relax. Just performing our duty, ensuring everything's orderly. Carla advances again, gaze keen. Then inspect the two. He compensated. I entered him up. What else do you require? But Langley disregards her. Re-extracts a small pad. Name? He asks. Clarence elevates an eyebrow. It's right there on the ticket. I requested your name aloud. Repeats. Clarence sighs. Clarence Dupri, date of birth, February 10, 1968. Langley glances at Check it. Strides back toward the patrol, murmuring something under his breath. Harold finally advances from behind the counter, cleaning his palms on a cloth. Officers, can I speak to you outside a moment? Langley dismisses in. We're good, sir. No, you're not. Harold says sturdier now. That fellow has never provoked issues in my enterprise. You got an actual motive to be here, or are we just tormenting ex-soldiers now? Langley finally turns to him. Sir, we're replying to a report. Harold frowns. From who? Langley doesn't reply. He just shifts his mass from one foot to the other and keeps observing Clarence like he's a waiting-in tour. Clarence completes a bite of bread and nudges his dish slightly ahead as if to indicate he's finished. He cleans his palms on the tissue and extends into his coat again. This time he extracts a battered flip device, the kind nobody employs anymore, except perhaps someone like him. What's that? Langley asks, already sounding tense. Clarence flips it open with one palm, presses a digit on quick dial, waits. Harold leans in. Clarence. But Clarence just elevates one digit as the connection clicks. He places the device to his ear. Pause. Then serene as ever, he says, it's occurring again, and just like that everything in the room alters, because no one comprehends what the dial means. But the hush it leaves behind, it's deafening enough to shake the pains. Langley narrows his gaze, observing Clarence like he just yanked a ring on an explosive. Who the hell did you just contact? Clarence doesn't wince, doesn't reply. Instead, he calmly shuts the flip device, places it on the table next to his dish, and reclines. You said you were just performing your duty, Clarence says, tone low, steady. Now I'm performing mine. Langley advances, inflated now, palms on his gear strap. Sir, I'm going to require you to rise and come outside with me. Harold's had enough. No, he's not going anywhere. Not unless you're detaining him. Returns from the vehicle holding a screen. Name verifies. He mutters, scrolling. VA records confirm ex-soldier status. Honorable release to deployments. Bronze medal. Langley doesn't even blink. He without residence. Yeah, no fixed location. Was noted last year in Albany for lingering. Langley nods like that's the only verification he needed. Then he's a wanderer. Doesn't fit lingering here all day, occupying room. Carla bangs her order pad down on the counter. You've got steadies who linger. 4 hours gulping, 1 cup of brew, and nobody utters a term. But you arrive in here and target the one fellow who actually merited that privilege. Langley turns to her, pointing, "Ma'am, I'd suggest you retreat. You don't get to suggest me in my own workspace." She retorts. Clarence remains seated, serene still, but his digits tap the edge of the table once, twice, 3 times. He doesn't appear furious, just weary, the kind of weary that settles in your frame and never departs. "You view me as an issue," he says to Langley, "but I'm not the one creating the spectacle." Langley finally erupts. "That's it. Rise now." Clarence gradually stands to his feet, taller than he appeared when seated, straighter too. He glances Langley in the eye. "I don't want conflict." Langley reaches for his restraints. "You should have considered that before you got sly." Before he can seize Clarence's wrist, the front entrance swings open swift. So swift the chime above doesn't even tinkle right. It just smacks against the wall and rebounds. A fellow enters, mid-40s, sleek navy attire, dark topcoat, no emblem on his chest, but command in every stride. He moves with intent, straight toward the table without pausing to glance around. He holds up a black hide recognition case. Assistant Director Mark Sorrell, Department of Justice. Langley halts, palms still halfway to the restraints. Sorrell's tone is sharp, serene, and deadly. "Officers, I'm going to require your emblem numbers now." Stumbles. Sir, we were just replying to a there was no report." Sorrell interrupts. "We track certain turns on open broadcast lines. You're both documented. Both of you were breaching departmental rules the moment you began interrogating a civilian without reason. This fellow is an ex-soldier, not a suspect." Langley's face reddens. "With all due respect, you're not our overseer." "No," Sorrell says on your probe. Clarence doesn't utter a term, just settles back down smooth and gradual, like none of this astonishes him. Harold exhales through his nostrils, long and deep. Carla's gaze are wide, flicking between the men like she's viewing a legal drama on daytime screen. Langley glances around the room, realizing everyone's observing. Everyone heard, everyone witnessed, and there's nothing he can do now. But the worst part for those enforcers, the lens on Rhee's chest is still capturing, and what it seized is more than enough to alter everything. Sorrell doesn't settle, doesn't grin, doesn't elevate his tone. He doesn't have to. "I suggest you both exit now." Langley and Rhee hesitate, like lads caught performing something they know their parent wouldn't approve of, but eventually they stride out without another term, heads down, shoulders rigid. The cafe stays silent, but it's not tranquil. It's the kind of hush that observes. Clarence extends for his brew, still warm. Sorrell stays standing beside the nook, palms behind his back. He leans in just slightly, tone low enough only Clarence can hear. "You all right?" Clarence nods. "Didn't want to contact you." "I know," Sorrell replies. "But you were correct, too." Carla finally locates her tone. "Wait, what just occurred? Who is he?" Clarence glances up at her. "Buddy from the old days." Harold crosses his limbs. "You got buddies who stride in with a DOJ emblem and halt enforcers mid-report." Clarence gives the faintest grin. "Depends on the report." Sorrell turns to Carla and Harold. "I apologize for the interruption. We won't be long. One need a few minutes with Mr. Dupri." Harold nods. "Say what you need." "Brew's on the house." Clarence shakes his head. "Put it on me. I always compensate." Carla gives him a small grin. "Of course you do." Sorrell settles across from him. His manner shifts, less formal now, like he's speaking to an old combat companion, which he is. "You sure you're okay?" Clarence shrugs. "I've had worse mornings, but I've had better too." Sorrell's gaze narrows slightly. "This the third time this year." "Clarence, yeah, you want me to escalate this up the ladder." Clarence doesn't reply right away, just folds his tissue neatly and places it beside his empty dish. "Do what you got to do. I'm weary of justifying myself to people who already decided." Sorrell nods. "You shouldn't have to." Not after what you sacrificed for this nation. Clarence's face stiffens just for a second. They only care about that when I'm in uniform, not when I'm lingering in a cafe trying to devour. Sorrel sighs. They'll be halted at the very least. Clarence glances at him serene. I don't want regrets. I want dignity. I want them to absorb something that endures. Sorrel extracts his device. The torso lens footage will be marked and examined today. You'll get an official contact from Internal Matters, probably to discussions. Then we'll inform the media. Clarence doesn't wince. Let them view it. Maybe next time they'll reconsider. Outside the cafe, Payne is striding by the patrol vehicle, limbs crossed. Langley's on his device, his face stormy and pale all at once. Inside, Carla is back to replenishing cups, but every few seconds, her gaze flicked to Clarence. She's never witnessed this side of him. No one here has. And that's the thing about people like Clarence. They don't boast. They don't shout. They just bear more than most. In silence, Sorrel rises. He places a business ticket face down on the table. You contact that number if anyone else attempts anything. You comprehend me? Clarence nods. I value you. Sorrel pauses, glances him in the eye. The people that count do, but outside, something's fermenting. And what Clarence doesn't know yet is that the worst is still approaching. And it's not from the enforcers. It's from the web. 2 hours later, the cafe is back to its usual cadence. Brew cups clink, utensils scrape dishes. The low hum of morning talk buzzes beneath the crackling broadcast near the till. But something's altered. It's not just that Clarence is still lingering in the same nook. It's the way people glance at him now. Longer, inquisitive, courteous, hesitant. Carla leans in while replenishing his brew. You sure you want to remain? You got half the city murmuring already. Clarence shrugs. I didn't do anything amiss. Harold grunts from behind the counter. You didn't. But folks don't care about truths. They care about spectacle. Clarence takes a gulp. Then they better bring their own mug. I'm not serving it. That gets a small chuckle out of Carla. But it doesn't endure long. The chime above the entrance rings again. This time it's not an enforcer, not a patron. It's a teenage lass in a sweatshirt and loungers, holding her device, like it's attached to her palm. You him? She asks, stepping toward Clarence's nook without hesitation. Clarence glances up confused. You're the guy from the clip, right? The ex-soldier at Henry's cafe. Clarence frowns. How do you? It's all over TikTok. Somebody uploaded the torso lens footage. Mark the site. It's everywhere. My sibling's in university and he viewed it. Clarence reclines, jaw firm. That was swift. Swift. She laughs incredulous. You're trending, man. People are furious. Those enforcers. Twitter's devouring them alive. Harold strides over, brow creased. Wait, who uploaded the footage? Don't know, but it's got over 400,000 views in like 2 hours. Carla places a palm on her hip. What exactly does the clip show? The lass scrolls and turns the screen. Here, look. On the tiny display, Ree's torso lens flickers to life. You can hear Langley inquiring Clarence for recognition. You can hear Carla attempting to intercede. You can see the moment. Langley extends for his restraints, and then Clarence quietly extracts his device and dials. Then Sorrel's arrival. It unfolds like a scene in a film. Clarence glances away. He doesn't like viewing himself on displays. Feels like being stripped open in front of unknowns. People are naming you a champion. The lass says like silent fighter kind of champion. There's even a hashtag Clarence Dupri. Clarence shakes his head. I'm not a champion. You're not unseen anymore, she says softly. And then she strides out just as quick as she entered. Carla extracts her device, taps around, then glances at Clarence. She's right. You're all over. There's pieces emerging. Even a journalist from Savannah is requesting a discussion. Clarence sighs. That's not what I desired. You sure? Harold asks. Because maybe it's what we required. People finally witnessing what's been occurring right under their nostrils. Clarence doesn't reply. He glances down at the VA tickets still lingering on the edge of the table. That little piece of plastic never got him employment, never got him a flat, never even got him a gratitude when he required it most. But now it's viral material, and that feels intricate. But outside, behind the scenes, larger powers are rousing, because when the web gets involved, tales don't just propagate, they detonate. By midday, Clarence's name isn't just drifting around social media. It's racing across the bottom of national news scrolls. Local station WRBO picks up the footage, naming it another instance of unchecked power. CNN runs a brief segment before lunch. By evening, the clip's been trimmed, joined, remixed, and analyzed by every online commentator with a camera and a view. People want to know who this subdued, steady fellow is, where he originated from, what he's endured, and how two local enforcers got so he's disrespecting him in broad daylight. They start excavating, and that's when the truth about Clarence Dupri starts emerging. It begins with an old photo, black and white, grainy, taken somewhere in Fallujah. Clarence standing beside two other men in full battle gear, sand crusted on their outfits, rifles slung over their arms, fatigue in their gaze. The caption reads, Operative Clarence Dupri, Task Force Wolfhound, 2006. The web doesn't know what Task Force Wolfhound is, so they excavate deeper. Turns out it was a covert joint operations unit that handled captive recovery missions, classified work. Most of their files were sealed, but ex-soldiers talk quietly, respectfully, and when one of them shares a redacted commendation letter addressed to Clarence dated 2007, the tale breaks wide open. This wasn't just some regular fighter. Clarence Dupri had rescued people, not once, not twice, dozens of times. There are no discussions with him on record, no medals hung on any wall, no speech or ceremony, just a paper trail of excellence hidden in silence. Back in the cafe, Clarence doesn't have a clue how far things have gone. He doesn't do Twitter, doesn't care for TikTok. He's lingering in the same nook, flipping through a local paper that doesn't even have the tale yet. Sore calls again. You might want to brace yourself, he says. For what? Clarence asks. The devices are ringing off the hook. Legislative offices, newsrooms, a few big-name vets from D.C. want to grip your palm. Some nonprofit even wants to purchase you a residence. Clarence blinks. Purchase me a residence? Yeah, you're the web's newest champion. Clarence laughs under his breath. It's not joy, it's disbelief. All I did was settle for Mio. No, Sorrel says you rose without rising. Clarence glances out the pane. The world feels like it's accelerating without inquiring if he wanted to join. He doesn't like being the center of focus. He spent years trying not to be noticed, but now unknowns are turning him into an emblem. Some for fairness, some for disdain. Carlo walks by and glides a small box onto the table. Someone from the VA center dropped that off for you. Inside, a clean button-up top, a pair of new footwear, a prepaid device, and a note that just says, "Thank you, Sergeant Dupri." Clarence stares at it a long moment. He doesn't need presents. He needs calm. But maybe this is the price of making the world glance at something it's ignored for too long. Harold, Clarence says quietly, you ever feel like people don't view you till it's too late? Harold doesn't glance up from the till, only every damn day. But what Clarence doesn't know yet is that his clip, is about to compel a dialogue in places he never imagined. Places that usually pretend men like him don't exist. The clip doesn't fade like most trending snippets do. It grows. By Thursday dawn, the Macon Police Department issues a formal declaration. We are conducting a full probe into the incident involving Mr. Clarence Dupri, but the web doesn't want a declaration. They want action. They want names, and they already have them. Within hours, Officer Reed deletes his social media profiles. Officer Langley tries to go private, but not before someone captures his Facebook remarks from years ago. Some of it's bad, real bad, the kind of stuff that makes you wonder how he ever wore an emblem to begin with. Demonstrators gather outside the department headquarters. Not thousands, not even hundreds, just enough to fill a walkway. A quiet line of folks holding signs that read, "I am Clarence Dupri." No chants, no yelling, just presence. That's all it takes. Meanwhile, reporters begin peeling back the layers. Turns out this wasn't Langley's first report for profiling, or even his fifth. There were complaints filed and forgotten. Citizens who didn't know who to contact. Letters that never reached the right desk. But Clarence did, and his one dial toppled the entire structure. At the cafe, things have altered. Carla's been discussed twice. Harold's photo is on a local site. Patrons show up just to linger in the nook Clarence was in. One guy even asked to take a selfie with the chair. Clarence shakes his head at it all. "I'm not an exhibit," he mumbles. "You're a reflector," Carla replies. People just don't like what they see when they glance in. Still, Clarence doesn't feel like a champion. Champions get rest. They get secure. He's still resting in the same refuge. Still folding his coat into a cushion at night. Still stretching old ache out of his joints every dawn. But something's altered now. One evening, a van halts outside the refuge. Two men in a tire exit and ask for Clarence. They hand him an envelope. Inside is a letter from the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. It apologizes for how he's been treated, offers an accelerated housing coupon, advisor, a manager, access to a healer. "I didn't request this," Clarence says, holding the letter like it's a puzzle. "No, sir," the younger man says. "But you merited it that night." Clarence doesn't rest much. He lays on the bunk, staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the men he assisted with who didn't return, who never got letters, who never went viral, who were just forgotten. By Friday, the enforcers are halted. The mayor of Macon gives a press gathering. The chief of police stumbles through an apology that sounds like it was written by attorneys. But it doesn't matter much. Public pressure does what bureaucracy never could. Requits? Langley refuses. But with the probe heating up and more old cases being re-examined, his emblem is hanging by a thread. Even the association knows he's useless now. Clarence watches it all unfold from a seat outside the refuge. There's a camera team waiting nearby, but he's not interested. Not today. He ignites a smoke. He doesn't usually smoke, but some days just call for it. An older lady walks by, recognizes him, and pauses. "Thank you," she says. Clarence doesn't ask for what. He just nods because maybe finally people are starting to grasp something he's known for years. Dignity isn't something you give to people like him out of sympathy. It's something they merit. And if it took one dial, one cafe, and one bad dawn to teach that lesson, so be it. But there's still one thing left to say, and Clarence knows it won't come from a press release or a demonstration. It has to come from him. The following Sunday dawn, the cafe's unusually quiet. No cameras, no news vehicles, just the steadies again. Locals who come for Harold's eggs and Carla's chatter. The ones who were here before the headlines and will be here long after they disappear. Clarence enters wearing that same military coat, but now his stance is altered. Not rigid, not arrogant, just present, like someone who knows exactly where he stands, even if the ground beneath him keeps shifting. Harold nods toward his usual nook. It's open. Clarence doesn't settle. He clears his throat, and for a moment, nobody notices. Then Carla sees him. "Mr. Dupri," she says, setting down a tray. "I got something to say," Clarence replies, gaze scanning the room. The cafe quiets. "I'm not a champion," he starts. "I didn't plan to be a tail. I arrived in for eggs and brew like always, like I have every Tuesday for years." He glances at Harold, then Carla. "Y'all viewed me not as an issue, not as a task, as a person." He turns to the others. "But some folks, they didn't, and maybe now that clip got out, people are paying heed. That's good, but heed isn't the same as comprehension." A few heads nod gradually. One man lowers his utensil. "See," Clarence says, tapping his chest lightly. "I wore this coat in the desert. I washed men. I cherished Paris in the dirt. For a nation that forgets us the moment we remove the uniform." His tone stays even serene, but every term hits like a mallet. I didn't ask for a claim. I asked for a chair. I didn't demand a procession, just a dish. He pauses. And still, I had to prove I fit. Clarence steps forward, now facing the room. There are thousands like me. You won't see them on the reports. You won't hear their names. Some are without residence. Some are laboring positions with bad joints and fractured spines. Some just stopped speaking 'cause they got weary of being unseen. He holds up a palm. But hear this. Being impoverished isn't a crime. Being exhausted isn't a flaw. And requesting to be treated like a human should never be met with doubt. Carla wipes her cheek, tries to make it look like she's just rubbing her eye. It doesn't work. Clarence grins gently. We all enter places carrying tales no one views. So the next time you see someone who looks like they don't fit, maybe they do. Maybe they fit more than you know. He nods once and finally takes his chair. Nobody applauds. Nobody needs to. Sometimes the truth is loudest when it's quiet. The rest of the dawn folks come and go. Some leave courtesy on Clarence's table without a turn. One lady hands him a handwritten note and walks away. Harold brings him another brew without inquiring. That afternoon, Clarence strides over to the refuge one last time. He packs his items. The flat key from the VA is cold in his palm. Strange, heavy. Later that week, the first news tale fades. Then the next, social media finds someone new to fume over. The world moves on, but Clarence doesn't. Plots roots in a district that views him in a place where people knock on his entrance, not to query him, but to say hello. He starts aiding at a nearby academy, speaking to youngsters about assistance, about silence, about worth. The staff don't quite know how to present him, so they don't. They just say, "This is Mr. Dupri. You'll want to hear what he has to say," because it turns out people heed now. But more importantly, they glance and they see. Let this tale be a reminder. Not every champion wears a cape. Some wear coats older than you. Some linger quietly with brew. Some battle fights you'll never hear about. Dignity doesn't come after you're gone. It should come while you're still here. So the next time you cross paths with someone who looks forgotten, speak, don't stare, listen, don't assume. And when you can, rise, even if it's just by settling beside them. If this tale moved you, take a moment today to check on someone who's been overlooked. Say something kind, purchase them a brew, look them in the eye,